All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises to YAHAWAH, Bahashim YAHAWASHI, Barak Tham. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone teaching real well. And peace and salutations to the Akim scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, keeping his word in truth and sincerity. Just going to go into a quick video, just a quick hit, but, going to Ezekiel 35, just make some points on that, because, Esau has a lengthy history of pretty much, going against the nation of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you read the Bible, we've always been in conflict with Esau, man. But anyways, let me just get this first. Ezekiel 35. I'm gonna start at verse. We'll start at verse 3 or verse 2. It says, "Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it." Against Mount Seir was a chief city of Esau, man. Mountain of Seir. Was a great governing body, man, at that time, right? And this is, it's talking about, Esau, Edom, and Mount Seir, but that also goes into the times of today, because Esau right now, man, he's ruling. You know what I'm saying? So this is this is a scripture that can also be applied to Esau today. So we're sitting, like I said, set thy face against Mount Seir. We're setting our face against Mount Seir as we speak. When we go out there in the highways and byways, and then we call Esau and all the BS that he be doing, right? According to the scriptures, breaking them down. So anyways, verse 3, it says, "And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate." So that's and that shows you that the Lord is against Esau, man. Esau, Edom, which of course, in modern days, is known as the so-called white man. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord is telling them, like, hey, I am against thee, right? And he's gonna make them most desolate, which is a prophecy that is yet to be fulfilled, but it's gonna happen, right? Verse 4, it says, "I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of the calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end." So that's true. You know what I'm saying? Esau has always had that perpetual hatred that like, or even if you go back to the time of Cain and Abel, you know what I'm saying? That hatred has always been there since that time, all the way to today's time, man. They've always had that, I'll say that spiritual hatred, because it always comes back. If that makes sense, when that makes sense. But that's why the scriptures say a perpetual. Let's get that word real quick. Let's see, perpetual, right? It says long duration, antiquity, right? Futurity, forever, ever, everlasting, evermore, perpetual, old, ancient world. You know what I'm saying? Ancient time, long time, of past, of future, forever, always, continuous existence, perpetual, everlasting. You know what I'm saying? So Esau has always had that everlasting hatred towards us, man. That's why there's always that that conflict between Esau and Israel. You know, the so-called white man and and Israel. You know what I'm saying? The so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, man. I'm gonna keep going on this. It says, and when you read verse 5, when it says, like in the middle of verse 5, it says, the children of Israel by the force of the sword I'll start again, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of the calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. You know, and that goes into Psalms when Esau, or when it talks about how, you know, it say raise it until the very end of, you know what I'm saying, roughly paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? When you go into that word raise it, it means like literally like if you have, you know, like Esau be shaving their, you know, their faces, you know, they're shaving the hair off their face with the razor, and it goes all the way down to almost to the very foundation, to where, like, you know, you can't see it no more. That's what they was doing, or that's what they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to shave us down to where, or destroy us to the point where we were through. You know, we weren't gonna never come back. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that word raise goes into, man. Like you know, shaving something down to where it can never grow back. And that's what Esau wanted. You know? Verse 6, it says, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee, man. Because the way that Esau handles things through the sword, you know what I'm saying, is wicked as hell, man. Like, he does not have a conscience of the things that he does. You know what I'm saying? He just kills and kills and kills, and doesn't have any empathy, man. Like no feeling of feeling bad, like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. No, man, he does not care. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Lord is saying this in Ezekiel the 35th chapter, man. And I'll read it again. It says, therefore, verse 6, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood. You know, going again. You know what I'm saying? Esau all the time, throughout the history of the world, going into how these so-called white men has, even during that time, right? The New World and everything, Esau coming over to the New World, killing the so-called Native Americans, which is Gad, and then taking over, you know, the southern part of the Americas. You know what I'm saying? With the conquistadors and Ishikar and all them. You know what I'm saying? Even then, they did not give a shit about how they treated our people. And then we can even go back further, man. We can go either forward or back in time. It's there, you know, the so-called Negroes. You know what I'm saying? The transatlantic slave trade. You know what I'm saying? All that. They didn't care about, you know what I'm saying? That's why the Lord, you know, he said that, you know, said, I will prepare unto thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee, man. So he's gonna get that recompense, you know. It said, verse 7, it says, well, let me get this real quick. I'm gonna get this. And I know I always go back to this one, but Isaiah 47. Let's see. Well, I'll just get to the point. Verse 4, Isaiah 47, verse 10, it says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it had perverted thee, and thou hast said, in thy heart I am, and none else beside me. So, you know, just like we were talking about, Esau has done all these things throughout the history of the world, to where he just trusts in his own wickedness, man. Like, he thinks that nothing can touch him. Well, I've been doing, you know, like, well, I've been doing it for so long, you know, like, Like, I ain't never received no punishment or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So Esau, and it says, none seeth me. So he sees like, well, nobody's looking at me like, hey, I'm doing something wrong in his mind, right? It says, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it had perverted thee, man. So he got to a point to where, man, like, he's like, okay, well, you know what? I've done this for so long. We got a long history of doing this and doing this to these people and all that. So, hey, we good. And that's what that goes into, man. His own wisdom is and knowledge of things that he does has perverted him, man. Is blinded him to where he thinks he could just keep going and going, and the Lord, he thinks the Lord is not seeing him, man. He thinks that he literally thinks that the Lord is Salakia, damn TV. He literally thinks that the Lord is just allowing him to do these things. And then, like it says, going on in verse 10, it says, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Saying that there's no one else to challenge him. It's just him. So verse 11, it says, therefore shall evil come upon him. It's like it. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall not come upon thee suddenly. So like, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. You know what I'm saying? So that goes back into what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? The Most High is gonna judge him. There's no escaping it. There's nothing. There's no way that he can wiggle out of this. It don't matter that he's been doing it for so long and he's not been checked. Because the Lord is the one that's been allowing it. Or as a matter of fact, here we go to Revelation 18. And then, let's see. Let's see. Revelation 18, I'm trying to get that one verse that talks about for her sins have reached unto heaven. I might have passed it. Oh, there we go. So this is. Oh, I'll just get to the point. Verse 5. It says, for her. Revelation 18, verse 5 says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Lord have remembered her iniquities. See, there you go, man. Going back to all the atrocities, all the wickedness and evil that the Lord has done to the nation of Israel, and I'm just giving them that one part, just the nation of Israel. But the Lord is going in. When you read this Revelation 18 verse 5, it goes into what Esau has done, period, to the planet Earth, to the other nations, to the nation of Israel, to anything that he has done. The Lord has been keeping them tabs, man. Read it. You can read it right there. For her sins have reached unto heaven. So that's like keeping a tab. You at a bar, what I'm saying, and you buying people drinks, buying beer, taking shots, whatever. That bartender's keeping those tabs, man. Like you're not gonna get away from paying that tab. Same thing with Esau. He's got a tab to pay. And it tells you right there, and the Lord, verse 5, halfway up verse 5, and the Lord had remembered her iniquities. And if you read on the right side, the NLT, it says, for her sins are piled as high as heaven, and God remembered her evil deeds, man. And talk about Esau, man. Specifically going into when you talk about when you go into this chapter, man, it's talking about America, which is also a part of Esau, man. Esau, Edom, So verse 6, it says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she had filled, fill with her double, man. So everything that she's done, that Esau Edom has done, and in this specific chapter, man, going into America, man, they're gonna have to pay for all of that. You know, throughout the history of America, the slave trade and all that, and everything going on here, even to these modern days, man, they're gonna have to pay. You know what I'm saying? Reward unto her double. So everything that they've done to us, man, it's gonna be doubled. Right? I'll read it in NLT as well. It says, do to her as she has done to others. Double her penalty for all her evil deeds. She brewed a cup of terror for others. She brewed twice as much for her. You know? So Esau Edom is going to be reap what he sowed, man, as a nation. And they're going to be, they're going to be put, or like it says in, here, I get this last one, Job 18. She's going to reap, Esau got to reap what he sowed, man. He reaped death, he got to sow death. You know what I'm saying? But he's going to be put in the same position as he put us, man. So, let's see. Well, you can really read the whole chapter, but I'll start at verse 5 and jump down. It says, yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. Going into Esau, pretty much internally will be, he's going to be, pretty much brought down because of his own infrastructure, or, like his own, like it says, like his own counsel. You know what I'm saying? Like his own inside, the government, he's going to be brought down, man, because they're just going to, you can see it today, man. They going against each other. The left or the right, whatever you want to call it, Democrats and the Republicans, whatever, right? This is verse 8. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare, man. So he set a trap, and he walked into his own trap. The jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet, man. So it's going to be turned around, man. Instead of him putting the people, the heathen nations and the nation of Israel in a state of terror, man, it's going to be turned against him, man. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. And these are the things. This is the description of things that await him. Things that he's perpetuated throughout the planet Earth against everything that exists, really. And now he's going to be the one to suffer those things. And in verse 13 it says, it shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors, which we already know who the king of terrors is, man. That's the Most High. That's the ultimate king of anything. He can make you suffer the worst possible situation or death, imaginable, and the Most High, YAHAWASHI, is the only one that can do that. It says, it shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. And there you go, man. That brimstone, that fire, is going to devour Esau, man. And if you read on the right, it says the homes of the wicked will burn down in the NLT. burning sulfur rains on their houses, man, and that's when that's what's gonna happen, man. That's what you can read in Revelation, the 18th chapter. You know, going into that Esau's, you know, America's final judgment. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm just gonna end it off on that. You know, Lord willing, brothers, you know, got some edification off of that, and with that, I'm gonna say, Shalom, Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Barakatam, Shalom.